Let's dive in to our LSU film review. So how I'm kind of thinking about structuring this, we'll get into some general thoughts. Then I'll get into offensive thoughts. We'll go position by position. Then we'll get into some defensive thoughts. And there's a couple other sections I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to handle because they're going to translate great on the radio. But like I breakdowns of every third down and where it went wrong, and breakdown of every 10-plus yard play that LSU gave up, which again, LSU, by my count, had 19 plays given up of 10 yards or more. That is unbelievable, and that is a sign of a defense who just has no idea what the hell is going on. So, general thoughts, going down the list. Cade York, even with the missed kick, pretty damn good. Pretty wild that this cat is 6 of 7 on 50-plus yarders. I mean, even in the NFL, that's a coin flip kick for even the most elite kicker. So, good on Cade York. Good on Zach Von Rosenberg while we're talking special teams. Loved Racy McMath making the forced fumble there. I mean, not just being an impact player on offense, but still continuing to do excellent work on special teams. So, pretty good on special teams. Other kind of general game notes. I thought Drinkwitz and Mizzou did a good job of playing like an underdog. When you are not expected to win, if you play in a traditional fashion, you will basically guarantee that you lose. I think you have to be willing to be more risky. If you're an underdog, you have to be more creative, and maybe it makes you lose worse in the end, but it's also, ironically, your best path to success. And so the flea flickers, the wildcat formations, even something that is dumb as a fake punt coming out of a timeout, like that was crazy, but they were still going for it, right? Though by game's end, you realize you probably just could have lined up and just beaten him straight up. So it's essentially what you did. Now, let's dive into the offense. Some good stuff here. Lost in the shuffle on the opening drive. I loved the aggressiveness of going for it on 4th and 5. That is the type of offensive aggression that it's going to take when you look at how bad the defense is going to be this year. As we said, you have to adopt the same mindset that Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin has. You have to fully expect the opponent to get a touchdown every time they touch the ball and then make decisions based off that assumption. It's very freeing, right? Like you said, there's no difference in Mizzou marching 50 yards to score because you tried to do an onside kick versus 80 yards to score because you just gave them 80 yards to go. As far as the offensive line goes, yes, from a play calling standpoint, I've seen a lot of criticism over LSU not running the ball. And certainly they could have called more run plays, but to be quite frank, the O-line didn't run block well at all. What was it, like 2 yards a carry? Holes were never really there. At the end of the game, they started to open up a bit, but I kind of understand how LSU fell into such a pass-happy rhythm, given that every time they ran the ball, it just felt like a wasted play. When I look at the offensive line play, you cannot overstate the absence of Ed Ingram. The drop-off from him to Charles Turner is extreme. It's like a Grand Canyon cliff type of drop-off, and that's not even a slight at Turner. I mean, Ed Ingram's just your best offensive lineman, and Turner's someone who is getting his first ever in-game action, so of course it's not going to be close. One thing I kind of liked, Cam, you saw the emerge of the depth that Cam Wire gives you. Deculus goes down. Wire shifts from left tackle to right tackle. Rosenthal comes in, so you got a little bit of juice there on the edge. Also, I don't know why they didn't stick with this. Maybe I missed something where he screwed up very badly, but Cam Wire actually had some left guard snaps as well, where I thought he played well. I thought he looked better from Turner, so I wouldn't be surprised if Ingram does go down again, if Wire's not just the swing tackle, but maybe he's even that interior guy as well. I think that Chasen Hines and Liam Shanahan struggled, especially in the run game. They could not move those backup Missouri defensive linemen, and I think when they run into the best defensive lines on the schedule, they're going to have a bad time. In terms of sacks and pressures, there were some misidentified Mike calls, which led to pass pro breakdowns. There were pressures guys getting beat, but on the whole, the pass protection was actually pretty solid. Also, that's a function of Myles doing a good job of, again, pocket presence. In this game, he was very good rolling when he needed to and making quick decisions. As far as the receivers go, Arik Gilbert and Terrace Marshall are some whole beasts, and they will continue to be so. And I hope that Arik Gilbert is at full health because, I mean, the way that he started that game was unreal. Why he wasn't a factor in those final goal line plays, I'm not entirely sure. We'll get to that. And then let's talk about the Torrey Carter thing, because a lot of people are upset that you threw the ball to Torrey Carter. But here's the deal. Torrey Carter is the backup tight end. Now, you could say that, okay, well, if Arik goes down, I don't want to have formations where the tight end is out there. But I think LSU still felt like a lot of their best plays were out of these formations. And as a quarterback, although you'd be like, why are you throwing to Torrey Carter? A quarterback ultimately has to make the best decision that the defense is giving him. And when you look at the balls that Carter dropped, I believe one was on a 3rd and 7 where you would have a chance to get the first down. There was obviously a touchdown at the end. Those were the correct decisions, and they were good throws. And unfortunately, Carter just couldn't haul them in. So, like, yeah, I ideally you don't want to go to Carter there, but like just because how the depth chart shapes out, I don't know if you have much of a choice. The one thing I would say, I don't want Myles to like just avoid throwing there because he's in the game. If it's the right choice, it's the right choice. I think maybe the coaching staff looks at, okay, how can we make sure that he's not out on those routes? Kayshon Boutte had a nice game. Very much lost in the shuffle. You saw him make some plays, first kind of action. He almost got one of those 3rd downs late. Had the screen blocking been a bit better. Again, you missed Ed Ingram. They did a wide receiver tunnel screen where this was last week how Ed Ingram sprung Jontre Kirkland, basically pancaking a guy 10 yards. Charles Turner just was not fast enough out there, and he ends up getting chopped down right for the first down marker. But Boutte had a nice few catches, made nice few plays. All right. Let's move on to running back. I, too, want John Emery to play more. I don't get why he didn't get touches early on. That said, let's not act like he played well this game. He dropped 2 passes. He had the one pass where it wasn't where to start the game where it was thrown behind him and he got lit up. I mean, that's just a bad break and a bad way to start your day. But it's hard to say like you want to have full trust in this guy when he had the 2 drops on plays where you needed him. So sure, I want John Emery to play more, but again, let's not act like he played very well. In fact, I don't know if anybody played very well out of the running back room. They weren't asked to do a lot. Tyrion Davis-Price probably had the best game. He had some nice moments. Chris Curry continues to be a non-factor, unfortunately. So about Myles Brennan. He played fantastic. There is a huge disconnect on 3rd down still. A lot of that is a function of getting into these 3rd and long situations. But as we said, even against Vanderbilt, you averaged 3rd and 6, and you were still bad on 3rd down. So I don't know if it's like the pressure of the situation, feeling uncomfortable with your reads on the down. Like something is not translating from downs 1 and 2 to 3rd down, and you've got to get it figured out. But if we're looking at Brennan's overall arc in these 3 games, it's a very impressive trajectory. Every week you're seeing him clean up mistakes, and every week you're seeing him elevate his play. Now, obviously, when you play the better defenses and the better teams in this league, I don't know if that will continue on that just straight path upwards. But I thought he played really well. I mean, you just look at the touchdown throws. That first throw to the corner under pressure was a thing of beauty. You talk about dropping it in the basket. That's literally what it was. Beautiful touch on that throw as well, right? The second touchdown, hit as he throws. He hits that little rollout, hit as he throws, hits Marshall on the crossing route. Free blitzer off the backside, scrambled by just enough time. Really like that one. The third touchdown to Arik Gilbert right after the fumbled part. Punt. What I thought was interesting about that is LSU lines up trips to the right. They put Arik on the left, so basically he ends up in man coverage. You'll take that every time. Little easy slant, perfect throw. And then that 4th touchdown, that 75-yard touchdown. I mean, dude, Myles Brennan throws a pretty deep ball. I mean, he hit Marshall over the safety's head in stride. Marshall could not. I mean, he just run full speed. No change in anything you are doing needed. What did y'all think? I'll bring y'all in on this real quick. What did y'all think about Brennan trying to lower the shoulder on the sideline and run old boy over?
Please don't do that. Stop. I don't need, with that defense out there on the field, I don't need a true freshman playing the final 7 games at quarterback for this team.
That's fair.
I admire the effort. Stop it.
Yeah,
don't do it anymore.
I'm in the same way. I don't want him to do it. Danny?
Yeah, he's not Josh Allen. He can't do that yet.
No, not Josh Allen. But is there at least an element that you can appreciate of like,
I love the grit.
Yes.
Love the
trying
grit.
because you could see he made a conscious decision where he was going out of bounds and he said no, and he planted that foot. And yeah, he's trying to show that, look, I'm not the only guy. I don't have to slide either. That said, just slide from here on out. It's cool. We trust your toughness. I've seen you get lit up against Vanderbilt. I've seen you get lit up against Mizzou and still play great. So I don't think Myles has anything to prove in that department. Let's talk about the goal line before we move on to defense, because the 4th down goal line stand from the 1 is the salt in the wound to just drive home how bad this game really was. A lot of talk on the play calling. One thing I don't love right now, okay, so my main issue with the play calling is this, is that the first 3 plays were one-option plays. 2 were runs, and 1 is basically a designed, very quick play-action little screen thing to Gilbert, right? Or, excuse me, to Marshall. And the problem with that is Brennan was the best player in this game for you. He's the one that even had you in a position to win the game. So I hate that when you had 4 plays from the 1, you really only gave him options on 1 play. Like you only trusted him for that 4th down play. On 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, he had no read. It was hand it off, and then I know I'm faking the handoff. I'm going to throw this quick little out. And everybody was zeroed in on Terrace Marshall by that point. The play action on 3rd down did absolutely nothing. So another thing that I don't love is LSU has become uber predictable with their back-to-back quick zone runs in short yardage situations. You saw it throughout the entirety of last season. They've carried it through to this season, and Mizzou knew, and they hit him with looks that LSU had not seen yet, and, well, you saw what happened. So that would be my biggest problem there. Also, on the 4th down, if we do want to nitpick, Brennan had Kirkland on the backside. Marshall had garnered so much attention that on that backside slant, Kirkland had won his route. He was on the inside, but Brennan was locked in on number 6, which I guess it's hard not to be locked in on number 6. And then I guess, I mean, I should have said this in receiving, but it just kind of goes without saying, but Terrace Marshall's unbelievable. And on a day and in a season where everybody is losing money all over the field, Terrace Marshall is one of the sole few that is constantly making money. There's also a dark part of my heart that wonders what this could have been with Jamar Chase. But that's fine. I mean, you don't want to go there. You're gonna drive yourself crazy. All right, let's get into these defensive thoughts. These are not going to be as positionally related, though I will still go by position group because so much of this is just overall dysfunction. I think that Bo Pelini's antics on the sideline are embarrassing. I think that yelling at players when every player doesn't seem to consistently doesn't seem to know what to do, like, sorry, coach, that's on you. And it's obvious that the players are not responding to the yelling. As a player, there's nothing more frustrating when you already don't respect a guy or believe in his plan, and then he's just constantly and incessantly yelling at you. I mean, you just tune it out at a certain point. And I tweeted this last night. I noticed this halfway through the first quarter, and it stuck throughout the entire night. No exaggeration. I have never seen a defense look as constantly confused as the one I just watched on film. Mizzou's pre-snap movement had their heads exploding. They played so slow because of it the entire night. It looked like they were thinking more than they were playing. LSU was barely set when Mizzou was snapping the ball, and they weren't going that fast. Ole Miss was fast. Like, that was the fastest tempo I've ever seen. LSU will still be in the huddle when Ole Miss is snapping the ball if they don't get it right. I think Drinkwitz knew that LSU players didn't fully understand their responsibilities. He knows that Pelini's scheme requires constant adjustments to account for offensive adjustments. And I think Drinkwitz knew that when he moved guys around and it kept LSU trying to switch responsibilities right before the snap, that they would put blood in the water and they would fail. It just, again, the same way that in week 1 you didn't look like a team that was prepared for anything that Mississippi State was doing offensively. You looked like you were not prepared for anything Mizzou was doing. The linebacking play was horrible. They play so passive. I mean, don't ever get within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage after the ball is snapped. They're waiting for the ball to come to them, waiting for blocks to come to them. It's opened up massive cutback lanes. It's a big problem in the 4-3, especially because the front seven is supposed to be the heart and soul of the 4-3, and nothing's working. And right now, Damone Clark is really struggling to keep up with the speed of the game. And him dancing after the TFL when it was 38-31 was embarrassing. Double damning for Pelini that this is his position group that looks so poor. And it's just wild. Every time Mizzou ran the ball, first contact on the running back was not coming until 5 yards deep. You got dominated on line. You got dominated in second level. Let's talk about the secondary. I see why LSU didn't run any zone against Mississippi State. They're garbage at it. I don't know if they just installed more of it, but it looks like they haven't practiced much of it. No one knows their responsibilities. It's horrible through and through, and really the miscommunication on the secondary is just horrible. Every single big play. I mean, I charted 19 of them. I tweeted out my notes on it. Every single play at the snap, there's guys pointing to each other, not knowing what's going on. Look at the Eli Ricks busted coverage touchdown, where at the snap, him and Todd Harris both point to each other and say something to each other as the ball's being snapped. They're obviously saying, like, you have this, right? And they actually have no idea what's going on. Defensive line, again, you got dominated. You got blown off the ball all night. I don't know that Ollie Gay is a particularly good run stopper. No pass rush all night, save for a nice rush from Andre Anthony and B.J. Ojulari. B.J. Ojulari continues to be actually really good, though. I mean, that sack force fumble was a great pass rush. And again, why this is so concerning is this entire defensive scheme success hinges on great D-line play. And it's just not there right now. And then again, you get into the 19 plays of 10 yards or more, and it's everything. It's everything, right? There's a flea flicker where you bite on the pitch and you get beat, but also you had a corner blitz on that should have stopped the flea flicker, but responsibility confusion meant that Stingley wasn't ready for the snap, to the point where the corner blitz was so slow that Roundtree got the handoff, pitched it, and then picked up Stingley off of the edge to then throw the flea flicker touchdown. And of course, Stevens, Maurice Hampton, bad discipline. They bite. He had a 15-yard gain in 33, terrible zone defense. A 29-yard touchdown run where there's a missed tackle from Cox, and then no other linebackers to be found anywhere. 30-yard crossing route where Damone Clark's way behind. There was a beautiful 3rd and 7 shovel pass where they did this little pre-snap motion at Damone Clark. It looks like an Abbott and Costello thing. Damone Clark and Jabril Cox are switching and running back and forth, and it's like a tennis match. They're moving side to side. They shovel pass you up the middle. It's just everything. I mean, the big plays are everything. In every way that you could have screwed up, it's actually similar to the offense in that way. They found something to screw up every third down. And LSU did a much worse job of getting into third and manageable. And it's really highlighted offensively by that final sequence in which, on a drive when you had to have it, you get to 3rd and 18. And it's not that you were ever going to get the 3rd and 18, but it's how you got there that kind of exposes some of the remaining flaws of this LSU offense. You had the drop Torrey Carter TD. Then you had Brennan try to run instead of throwing it away. Then you had a delay of game penalty. And then Brennan gets lit up when the O-line makes a bad protection call and you have a blitzing middle linebacker. So it's just like right now on 3rd down offensively, it's no one thing. It's a whose turn is it now to screw this up. And again, to go to coaching, look, Joe Brady was in charge of 3rd down and red zone. You are struggling in those departments thus far. You know, we're not in those meeting rooms, but it just logic says that we're going to criticize Scott Linehan for that. That's the role that you have taken over, and it's been bad. It's been bad even to the point where we highlighted it coming into this week, and it got even worse. So those are your T-Bob game takes. I know that was very long, but there's a lot of bad to break down. And the unfortunate part about the defense, like offensively, I can still break down things like technique and stuff, and that's great. On the defense right now, you can't even break down technique just because there's no, like, the confusion is so much and it's so bad that nobody's playing with any technique. Guys aren't set when they're snapped. They're talking. It's just, it's a parade of errors right now. And I don't know that you can get it fixed, but if I were to get it fixed, I mean, it cannot be worse than it is. Don't call anything but your base defense the entire game and just hope for the best. That would be better than what you've seen thus far out of LSU. All right, T-Bob's game takes in the notes. Come back more OTBOT next here on, look, how about we do this? If you want to get any questions in from the game, if you put them in chat right now, I will answer them next segment. This is OTBOT.